Stop. Before you send another, hey, smiley face, text that gets left on read. Before you blame your face, your height, your bank account for every rejection. Ask yourself something darker. Why is it that some men who are not better looking than you, not richer than you, not even kinder than you, have women obsessing, chasing, fighting for their attention, while you feel lucky just to get a reply? Why is it that the more you care, the more distant she becomes, and the more indifferent he is, the more she melts? Why is it that when you open up, listen, support, and do everything right, you end up as the safe option, the late-night therapist, the friend, while she goes crazy over the man who gives her less, but moves differently? You've been told it's all about looks or money, but you've seen it with your own eyes. The average-looking guy who has women circling him. The broke dude she can't leave alone. The quiet one she can't read and can't stop thinking about. Let's start with a harsh truth. You cannot make anyone beg for you. Not ethically, not long-term. You can't hypnotize her. You can't mind control her. You can't trick her into real attraction. But you can become the kind of man that her instincts, her emotions, her psychology don't know how to ignore. You can become the gravity in the room instead of the decoration. You can become the standard, not the backup plan. And that has nothing to do with cheesy pickup lines. It has everything to do with power. Not power over her. Power over yourself. Machiavelli didn't write about dating. He wrote about rulers, war, survival. But human nature is human nature. The same instincts that govern courts and kingdoms still run in DMs and relationships today. He watched how people behave around strength, certainty, scarcity, and consequences. In simple terms, you see what works. You've watched her chase unpredictable men. You've watched her stay up all night crying over a guy who barely texts. You've watched her lose interest the moment a man becomes too available. Wrong. She's obsessed with something else: mystery, certainty, challenge, presence. The men you call toxic or players often accidentally embody ancient laws of power that Machiavelli wrote about. They don't over-explain. They don't beg to be liked. They don't rush to please. They move like they could walk away. You don't need to copy their toxicity. You need to copy their leverage. This video is not about manipulation. It's about Machiavellian clarity, understanding the game you're already in, whether you admit it or not, and using 6 ruthless rules to stop being the man women use for comfort and start being the man women compete for. But first, we need to kill the weakest version of you. The man who believes that if he just loves her enough, she'll magically see his value. She won't, because women, like men, are not moved by how good you are in theory. They're moved by how they feel around you. And right now, you're giving them exactly the opposite of what creates obsession. You're too available, too open, too eager, too predictable. Machiavelli saw the same thing in politics. Leaders who wanted to be loved ended up ignored or overthrown. Leaders who understood appearance and fear kept the throne. He wrote, "Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, for everyone can see and few can feel." Translation for you: she doesn't feel your kind intentions. She sees your behavior. She sees you double texting when she takes hours to answer. She sees you instantly making time for her when she barely rearranges anything for you. You appear like every other man she can control. You think you're showing her how much you care. She just sees a man who doesn't know his own value. The first hidden rule is simple and brutal. Stop trying to convince her. Start making her observe you. You do that by shifting your focus from her reactions to your standards. She takes 3 days to text you back. The older gets anxious, explains, chases. The ruthless you notices, adjusts, falls back. You mirror her investment instead of compensating for it. Not as a petty game, but as a Machiavellian move. You're teaching her nervous system that your attention is not guaranteed. Comment: the day I stopped rewarding low effort with high effort, my entire dating life flipped. The second hidden rule: become scarcer than her attention span. In a world where her phone is flooded, likes, comments, snaps, DMs, you can't compete by being louder. You stand out by being rare. You don't respond instantly unless it's actually urgent. You don't always say yes to her plans if they don't align with your life. You don't rearrange your schedule last minute just because she finally decided she's free. You move like a man with a mission outside of women, not as a performance, as reality. If your entire world is waiting for her message, she will feel it. And deep down, she will lose respect. Women beg for what they're scared to lose. If you're always there, no matter how she treats you, you're not scared to lose. You're a backup plan. Machiavelli understood that people don't cling to what's abundant. They cling to what's rare and powerfully positioned. Harsh, but think about it. People obsess over losing what represents value, status, resources, access, identity. In her life, you become patrimony when your presence upgrades her world. Not just with compliments, but with standard. Your time feels expensive, not desperate. Your energy stabilizes her, challenges her, excites her, not just fixes her problems on command. That's when the idea of losing you keeps her awake more than the idea of losing yet another guy who's already on his knees. Now here's the twist that will probably hurt. You don't become that man by studying her. You become that man by studying yourself. Right now, everything you do is a reaction to women. She can smell that from a mile away. Women live in a sea of male performance. The ones who stand out are not the loudest. They're the ones who move like this. I want you. That energy is not something you fake. It leaks from your lifestyle, from how you spend your time when she's not around, from what you're building that has nothing to do with impressing her, from how you handle rejection without collapsing. Rule 3, be anchored outside of her. Your fitness, your money, your style, they matter. But not as tricks to get her. They matter because they're proof that you can commit to something, push through boredom, and hold a standard for yourself. That's what she actually responds to. Deep down, women are not looking for a lapdog. They're scanning for a leader, not a tyrant. A man whose life already has direction. Machiavelli respected men who created their own fortune, not those who inherited it. The language is old and harsh, but the core idea is this. Fortune favors the bold, not the passive. In relationships, that doesn't mean you beat and coerce women. It means this: life, attraction, opportunity, they respond to decisive men. Men who make moves instead of waiting for signs. 24/7. Men who risk the awkward moment of escalation instead of being her emotional support forever. Comment: the scariest shift was going from hinting and hoping to actually leading. You think you're being respectful by being endlessly cautious. She experiences it as uncertainty. And uncertainty kills attraction. Notice something. You're scared to flirt in case she's not interested. You're scared to touch her hand in case she pulls away. You're scared to say, "I like you," in case she doesn't say it back. You're terrified of short-term embarrassment, but not long-term erosion. That's how the world breaks you. Slowly. Ruthless. Machiavellian energy is flipped. You are more afraid of wasting your life than you are of one awkward rejection. You become adventurous in the sense that you move. You risk. You lead. You reveal your intent instead of hiding it under friendship, hoping she magically figures it out. If she's not into it, fine. You leave with dignity, not years of confusion. If she is, now she knows she's not dealing with another boy hoping to be chosen. She's dealing with a man who chooses. Now, let's be clear. Make women beg you is a childish fantasy if you're begging life to notice you. This isn't about tricks. It's about transformation. Women become obsessed with men who know what they stand for, know what they won't tolerate, know where they're going, know they can walk away. Not men who read 100 text hacks and still panic every time they see typing. So in this first part, your job is not to memorize clever lines. Your job is to feel the gap between who you are right now and the man who does not chase half-hearted effort, does not perform for attention, does not let fear of being too much turn him into nothing. For now, let this sink in. You don't need to become a villain. You don't need to hate women. You don't need to fake a personality. You need to stop moving like a man who is grateful for crumbs. Because once you start walking like the prize, talking like the standard, and living like your life is bigger than any one woman, you won't have to make anyone beg. The ones who see you will lean in on their own. The ones who don't were never capable of meeting the man you're becoming anyway. You've probably already noticed something subtle. The minute you stop being instantly available, the minute you stopped replying like a train notification, the minute you pulled your energy back just a little, some women didn't care. Some disappeared, but a few leaned in. Same you, same face, same bank account, different behavior. And that's the first thing you need to understand if you ever want to be the man women secretly compete for instead of the one they come to only when they're bored or broken. Attraction is not a reward for goodness. It's a response to power. Not power over her. Power over yourself. In part 1, you started to reclaim that. You stopped sending essays to one-word replies. You stopped rearranging your whole life for a maybe. You started seeing that when your standards go up, some women vanish. And that's not a loss. That's filtering. Now we go deeper, because the world you're moving into is more dangerous than the one you're leaving. In the old world, you were invisible, ignored, safe. Men saw you as harmless. Nobody feared losing you, so nobody fought to keep you. In this new world, when you start to embody real gravity, things change. Some women will feel pulled in hard. Some will feel threatened. Some will test you harder than ever before. That's how you know you're not playing small anymore. The question is, can you handle that pressure without snapping back into the soft version of you the world loved using? This is where the next hidden rule comes in. Women don't beg for men they can control. They beg for men whose emotional center they can't move, no matter how hard they push. You've been taught to prove your care through emotional chaos. Blowing up her phone when she pulls away. Getting jealous the second she talks to someone else. Over-explaining your feelings every time she looks upset. You think that's intimacy. It's not. It's volatility. And volatility is addicting for a while. Then it's exhausting. Then it's predictable. Real obsession comes from a different place. She knows you feel deeply, but she also knows she can't throw you off your throne. Machiavelli lived in a world of storms, betrayals, coups, sudden turns of fortune. He watched who survived and who crumbled. It wasn't the most emotional or even the most good men. It was the ones who were moved by reason more than pressure. The fool reacts, explains, panics, bargains. The wise man chooses once and holds. Right now, you've been living as the fool in your love life. You know she's playing games, but you stay until you're shattered. You know you should stop texting first, but you wait until you've humiliated yourself. You know the situationship is going nowhere, but you cling until she finally leaves. By the time you act, it's not wisdom. It's damage control. Ruthless rule. You start doing at once what your old self only did at last. You feel her pulling away. You don't chase. You match. You sense she's not serious. You downgrade your investment immediately. You see a red flag you know from experience. You don't argue with it. You believe it. Women don't beg you because you never make mistakes. They beg you because you don't keep repeating them once you see the pattern. Now let's talk about something you don't want to admit. You're terrified of her emotions. She gets cold. You panic. She gets mad. You rush to fix it. She gets sad. You overcompensate. You are emotionally obedient. And obedient men do not create obsession. They create comfort, stability, a nice, safe landing place that she leaves the second she feels alive somewhere else. Machiavelli understood that people are driven by forces deeper than logic. You've only ever tried to use one, love. You try to make her feel so loved, so understood, so supported that she would never leave. But love alone doesn't create gravity. Love without consequence becomes background noise. You need the other impulse, not fear of you as a person, but fear of losing you as an experience. That fear doesn't come from shouting, threatening, or posturing. It comes from your willingness to walk away. Not in a manipulative, I could leave anytime speech. In a calm, lived reality. You like her. You care. You're invested. But if she crosses certain lines, you'll miss her from a distance. You won't chase her into disrespect. You won't sink just because she's sinking. You won't fight for a place in a life where you're not clearly chosen. Fear of losing you doesn't mean she's scared of you. It means her nervous system knows. This man is not emotionally trapped. That is the difference between the man she tolerates and the man she prays doesn't get tired of her. Comment: the wild thing was, the moment I truly accepted I was willing to walk away, everything about how women responded to me changed. Same words. Now, another piece you've been getting wrong: honesty. You tell yourself, I'm just being honest, as you dump your feelings, your fears, your past, your wounds on her in week one. You think that will bond her to you. What it actually does is strip away mystery and give her a complete map of your weaknesses before she's earned a right to see them. You're trying to build closeness by skipping tension. Real deep connection is not built by emotional vomiting. It's built through time, shared experiences, and measured vulnerability. You've been only the lion with women. You roar your feelings. You share everything. You show all your cards early. Then you wonder why you keep stepping into emotional traps, love bombing, manipulation, future faking. Or you try the opposite. You become only the fox. You hide everything. You trust no one. You play endless games until you don't even know what you feel. That doesn't create obsession either. That just creates confusion and lonely men. The balance is both. The lion and the fox. Lion, you're bold about your interest. Fox, you're careful about who you expose your inner world to. You don't give someone the deepest parts of you just because they're pretty and available. Lion, you lead dates, make decisions, hold your ground. Fox, you watch how she treats waiters, her friends, your time, her own life. You read patterns before you invest your soul. Women beg for men they can't quite figure out. Not because he's fake, but because he doesn't belong to them emotionally on day 3. He's real, but not reckless with himself. Comment: I used to think being an open book made me authentic. Here's the hardest truth of this part. You can't be the prize and the worshiper at the same time. Right now, you put women on pedestals without knowing anything about their character. You're already imagining a future. You're already planning how to win her. You're already bending reality to fit her into it. She can feel that. Women feel when a man has decided she is above him before she's done anything to earn it. You think that makes her feel valued. It makes her feel bored. Because if you worship her for nothing, your approval is worthless. Every woman watching already knows this tug of war inside herself. The men she knows she can have whenever she wants versus the man who is kind, attracted, open, but not hypnotized by her. Who does she obsess over? The one who sees her as human, not a goddess. The one who can enjoy her beauty without losing his brain. The one who is willing to say no to her when something doesn't work for him. That's the man she respects. And respect is the bridge between attraction and obsession. Machiavelli didn't talk about being a prize, but he understood this. People value what is not instantly theirs. They test what feels too easy. They protect what they fear losing. So what does all of this boil down to practically in your day-to-day life? It means you start making decisions that a future high value you would make now. Now, you stop texting all day just because she's bored at work. You stop dropping everything for last-minute plans from someone who never plans ahead for you. You don't ghost. You don't play cruel games. You simply stop rewarding behavior you don't actually want. This is where that first quote comes back in your actions. The wise man does at once what the fool does at last. You already know which women are serious. You already know when someone sees you as a backup. You already know when you're being love-bombed with no substance behind it. The fool waits until heartache to act. The wise man acts the moment he sees. And that's the man women end up chasing. Because while every other guy is still begging for a chance, he is quietly deciding if this is worth his effort. Is the hidden engine behind all 6 rules. He said, in his own ruthless way, stop being surprised that the world doesn't reward softness. Study how it actually behaves. Move accordingly. So you don't become bitter, you become clear. You don't become manipulative, you become selective. In the next parts, we'll take this further. How to create tension without toxicity. How to be emotionally present without being emotionally captured. How to use silence, attention, and standards in a way that makes flaky women disappear and serious one step closer on their own. Because Machiavelli's hidden rules aren't about making all women beg you. They're about turning you into the kind of man the right women can't ignore and the wrong women can't use. That's when your dating life stops feeling like a desperate audition and starts feeling like a kingdom you actually rule. The more you step into this energy, the more you stop chasing, the more you stop performing, the more pressure you're going to feel. Not less, more. Because now women aren't just ignoring you. They're orbiting you, testing you. One is suddenly texting you more because you pulled away. Another who never took you seriously starts flirting now that you're focused. The next pops back up just to see how you're doing, right when you finally moved on. The old you would see all this as proof you're winning. The new you has to see it as what it really is, a stress test. Women don't just test to be evil. They test to feel safe. They test to feel something real. And if you fail these tests, you quietly shrink back into the same category you crawled out of, the man she can have whenever she wants. So let's get into the next layer of these hidden rules. You already get the basics. Don't chase low effort. Don't pedestalize strangers. Don't overshare your soul on day 2. Now we go into the subtler game. Tension, consistency, reputation. If you get these wrong, you become a ghost again. If you get them right, you become a problem she can't shake. First, tension. You've spent most of your life trying to remove tension around women. You fill every silence. You crack jokes when things get serious. You rush to reassure her if she seems uncomfortable. You think tension is danger. But attraction needs a small amount of tension to stay alive. Not screaming matches. Not drama. That drains attraction. I mean the tension of not knowing exactly what you'll say next. Not being totally sure if you'll say yes. Not having you emotionally naked in front of her after one date. You've been acting like a Netflix show that drops the whole season on day 1. No suspense. No build. Just here's everything. She might watch. She won't obsess. Machiavelli wasn't writing about flirting, but he understood people obey what pulls them, not what smothers them. Most people aren't sitting around analyzing your deep soul. They're reacting to the appearance, how you move, how fast you fold, how quickly you give access. Right now, you appear as too eager, too clear too soon, too emotionally available for how little she's actually invested. So she relaxes. She knows. You told her. You showed her. You orbit her. The hidden rule here is simple. You let tension breathe. You stop answering instantly. You stop explaining every feeling. You stop rushing to fill silence. You say what you mean, then shut up. You let the joke sit. You let the compliment land. You let the eye contact last half a second longer than feels safe. Comment, I used to be allergic to silence. Now I treat it like a test. Tension is not cruelty. It's space. Space for her to miss you between texts. Space for her to wonder what you're thinking. Space for her to step forward of her own, well, instead of being dragged by your constant pursuit. Now, none of this works if you're inconsistent. This is where a lot of guys go full Machiavelli mode for 3 days, then crumble. You act busy for a week, then one sad emoji from her, and suddenly you're back to sending novels. You hold a boundary once, she cries, and you apologize for having standards. You tell yourself you'll never chase again. Then you see her posting with another guy, and you spiral straight back into begging. That isn't mystery. That's instability. A man who is sometimes strong and sometimes pathetic is not obsessible. He's confusing, exhausting. Real gravity comes from consistency. You don't need to be perfect. You do need to be predictable in your principles, even if your moods change. Machiavelli understood that people, even when they complain about strict rulers, secretly crave stability. You want the title of high-value man, dark masculine, whatever. But it's not the label that makes you that. It's your behavior that honors the title. You can write alpha in your bio. You can post quotes about being heartless. You can bench heavy, wear black, grow a beard. None of that honors the title if, when it matters, you still act like this. You say, I don't tolerate disrespect, then tolerate it. You say, I'm focusing on my purpose, then drop your work the second she's bored. Women don't beg for what you call yourself. They beg for men whose actions line up with their words again and again. You build that consistency through small, boring discipline. If you say you'll call at 8, you call at 8, or you say in advance that you can't. If you set a rule for yourself, no texting past midnight, no chasing after being left on read twice, no drunk calling, you keep it, even when lonely. If you decide to hit the gym 4x a week, you do it, even when nobody's watching. Women are not blind. They track these little patterns. She might not know Machiavelli, but she understands power. She can feel the difference between a man who got confident from 3 YouTube videos and a man who earned his self-respect one decision at a time. One she plays with, the other she hesitates to lose. Now, the last piece of this part, reputation. You think attraction is just between you and her. Wrong. Her perception of you is filtered through how the world reacts to you, how your friends talk to you, how strangers respond, how you handle inconvenience. But she does. She watches how you move in public, in groups, in conflict. Do other men respect you or walk over you? Do your friends look to you or use you? Do you shrink when someone louder enters the room or stay grounded? Machiavelli obsessed over reputation, not because he was insecure, but because he understood its power. He saw that rulers with strong reputations often won battles without fighting them. That's brutal, but it's how reality works. Most women will never experience your deepest self. They will only ever see how you carry yourself, how you speak, how you react, how you're spoken about. You can be the kindest, most thoughtful man on earth. If you present as weak, indecisive, easily rattled, constantly available, that's what she will respond to. So you have to build a reputation, not just online, but in your real life, of a man who keeps his word more often than he breaks it, doesn't gossip, especially about past women, doesn't get drunk and sloppy in front of everyone, doesn't crack the same sexual jokes as guys who've never touched a real mission in their life. Comment, the funniest thing was women started treating me differently after I cleaned up my reputation with men. Showed up on time, handled my business, stopped complaining. Reputation doesn't mean faking. It means aligning your outer behavior with the man you're becoming inside. If you want women to see you as scarce, start living like your time is rare. If you want women to see you as solid, start being solid for yourself first. If you want women to see you as a prize, start moving like your presence actually costs something. That might mean saying no when everyone expects you to say yes, leaving a party when the energy turns pathetic, cutting off self-deprecating humor that trains people to see you as a joke. You don't need everyone to like you. You need enough people to quietly respect you that your name carries weight, even if they can't explain why. Because here's the real hidden rule behind all of this. Women don't beg for you because you trick them. They beg for you because being around you feels like standing in a higher gravity field. They feel calmer but not bored, challenged but not attacked, safe but not in control. You become the man they tell their friends about in a different tone. But he's different. I can't just mess around with him. In this part, you've seen 3 things. Tension is your ally, not your enemy. Consistency is your proof, not your Instagram bio. Reputation is your armor, not your brand. In the final part, we're going to stitch all 6 rules together into a true Machiavellian playbook for modern attraction. How to handle tests without drama. How to keep your heart open without getting played. How to let women come toward you without building your whole life around who stays and who leaves. It's about becoming the kind of man who doesn't beg anyone for attention, for love, for validation, for permission to exist. Texts, they come on their own. Not because you hacked women, but because you finally stopped letting the world treat you like you're cheap. You can feel it. Something in you isn't flinching like it used to. The same late reply that once sent you into a spiral now just gets a raised eyebrow. The same "we'll see" that used to keep you on standby now makes you lose interest. The same woman who once had you rewriting texts 10 times now has to wait for your answer because you actually have a life. And that's the point. These 6 hidden rules were never about turning you into a trickster. They were about turning you into a man whose life is so rooted, so clear, and so unapologetically his that women either rise to meet him or quietly fall away. Because begging doesn't start with her. It starts with the realization that you are no longer disposable. Let's get painfully honest. Up until now, you've moved like a man who's terrified of loss. Losing her attention, losing the idea of what she could be in your life. So you overcompensated. You filled every silence. You chased every pullback. You saw every crumb of interest as a feast. You thought that if you held on tight enough, you'd eventually be chosen. You didn't realize that your fear of loss made you the easiest thing to lose. Why? Because you kept showing her one thing over and over: I will not leave. No matter how this feels, no matter how little you give. That's not loyalty. Machiavelli didn't live in your world, but he understood the deadly cost of fear-based leadership. He knew that rulers who governed from terror of losing power ended up losing it faster. Your times have changed. You've seen too much to keep moving like before. You've been ignored, benched, friend-zoned, used as a placeholder, guilt strung along. If you desire constant success, not just a lucky streak with one woman, but a lifetime of being taken seriously, desired, respected, your conduct has to change. Not just on good days. Every day. Comment, I kept trying to keep my heart the same while expecting different results. This last part is about that conduct. Not theory, not quotes. The way you walk through the world from now on. Let's talk about the circle around you first. Because you can't move like Machiavellian dating while moving like a doormat everywhere else. Your friends, your habits, your environment. They either reinforce your new standards or drag you back into your old softness. Right now, you might still be surrounded by people who love the weaker version of you. The friend group that jokes about you being down bad all the time. The boys who clown any attempt you make to improve yourself. The people who only call you when they need a favor, a ride, a loan, an ego boost. You can't become the man women beg for while being the clown, the errand boy, the emotional trash can for everyone else. You are the ruler of your life. Look around. Who are you surrounded by? Men who level you up, or men who keep you stuck? Men who call you out, or men who feed your worst habits because it entertains them? Men who are building something, or men whose whole personality is complaining and scrolling? Women feel this without needing to hear a word. She may not meet your friends, but she'll feel your world through your stories, your energy, your time. If your circle is weak, your frame is weak. If your circle is full of chaos, your nervous system never learns what calm power feels like. So your first ruthless move in this final phase is this. You quietly upgrade the people around you. You don't give long speeches. You don't announce a breakup with your old life. You just stop hanging out where your standards are mocked. Start hunting for rooms where you're challenged. Spend more time with men who move like you want to move in 5 years, not men who stay where you were 5 years ago. When your environment shifts, your energy shifts. And when your energy shifts, your presence shifts. That's the version of you a woman can feel before you say a word. Now, the second part of your conduct, how you handle conflict and tests. You wanted Machiavelli's 6 hidden rules because you thought it would teach you how to win women. But most of your losses didn't come from the first impression. They came from what happened when things got real. She gets moody. She pulls away. She cancels plans. She flirts in front of you. She pushes to see if your backbone is real or just a pose. And you either explode or you collapse. You argue, rant, accuse, emotionally dump. Or you swallow everything and become extra nice so she doesn't leave. Both reactions tell her the same thing. You don't own your center. A Machiavellian man doesn't chase chaos. He cures it by refusing to participate on its terms. Not by punishing, by repositioning. You don't have to punish a woman to change the relationship. You just have to stop rewarding behavior that makes you lose respect for her or for yourself. She cancels last minute constantly. You don't scream. You stop being available for last-minute plans. She mocks your standards. You don't lecture her. She uses you for attention between other guys. You don't compete. You remove yourself from the competition entirely. Machiavelli understood that not every battle is worth fighting. Many are won by refusing to show up on the enemy's terms. You're not just changing how you text. You're creating a new system for how you do relationships, period. It will feel difficult. It will feel doubtful. It will feel dangerous, especially when the people benefiting from your old system start pushing back. But if you stick with it, the new system becomes normal, where conflict no longer means you abandoning yourself to keep her, where tests no longer send you into panic mode, where you can say, "I don't like this," and be fully prepared for her to stay mad or to leave. Now, the last layer, what all of this is for. Because if you're not careful, you can twist Machiavellian clarity into pure bitterness. You can end up seeing every woman as an enemy, every test as war, every interaction as a battlefield where you must dominate or be dominated. That's not power. That's paranoia. Machiavelli wasn't telling you to hate people. He was telling you to understand them so you don't get destroyed. You're not becoming ruthless so you can hurt women. You're becoming ruthless so you stop letting romantic chaos hurt you. And so you actually have the strength to love well. Because here's the final irony. The softer parts of you, the loyalty, the empathy, the affection, the romantic side that wants to spoil the right woman, those parts are never the problem. The problem was that you were throwing them at anyone who smiled at you twice. You were handing husband-level devotion to women who hadn't earned boyfriend-level consistency. You were offering emotional safety to people who were using you as a distraction from their own emptiness. Your heart is not the enemy. Your lack of selectivity was. You kept making other people powerful over your emotions. You handed them the ability to ruin your day, your week, your self-esteem, your sleep. All it took was a late reply, a dry message, a cancel plan. You were the cause of that power. Now you stop. You become a man who can care deeply, but with discernment. Invest fully, but with standards. Show affection, but only where it's reciprocated and respected. You don't shut down. You filter. Comment, "I thought I had to stop feeling to stop getting hurt." Let's stitch the 6 hidden rules together now. Not as tricks, but as your new code. You stopped trying to convince and started letting women observe your standards. You became scarce, not by playing games, but by building a life that doesn't orbit around anyone's attention. You anchored yourself outside of women. Mission, growth, discipline. You mastered your emotional center. No more begging. No more chasing every mood swing. You became fox and lion. Bold in intent, careful in exposure. You built tension, consistency, and reputation. A man whose presence is felt, whose word means something, whose life is bigger than any one romance. That is the man women beg for. Not because he cast a spell, but because losing him would mean losing stability, direction, challenge, respect, a mirror that makes them want to be better just to stand next to him. Now you're here. You can go back if you want. Back to texting novels to half-hearted replies. Back to treating every pretty face like a queen while treating yourself like a servant. Back to praying that one day, the world will finally reward you for being nice, while you quietly empty yourself for people who are already looking past you. Or you can decide that this is the turning point, not a hype moment, a line in the sand. From today forward, you will still feel, you will still care, you will still be capable of deep love, but never again at the expense of your self-respect. From today forward, you stop auditioning, you start choosing, you stop begging to be picked, you start living like a man it is genuinely painful to lose. If you're done shrinking yourself to be liked and ready to walk as the man who sets the tone, like this video. If you're ready to become the kind of man whose time is rare, whose presence is heavy, and whose absence is felt, someone they can't control, can't predict, and can never forget, subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss what comes next. Drop a comment with ruthless presence, so I know you're not just entertained, you're committed. You're choosing to stop being the easiest option and start being the standard. Every time he gets played, there's nothing wrong with him. He's just been fighting a ruthless game with a gentle script. Because this isn't self-help. This is strategy. This is war. And from this moment on, you're not just another guy hoping to be loved. You're the man they feel in a room long after you've left it.